Друзі, привіт! Ласкаво прошу на канал VERBA. Today we are having the tense lesson for beginners where we will talk about present tense in Ukrainian, how to form the verbs in present tense. And for this we need to learn the topic conjugations or дієвідміни, if to say in Ukrainian. What is this? These conjugations. You know, in English we say I have, but he, she, has. Different endings of the verb for different persons. These are actually conjugations. So not so hard, right? But the thing is that in Ukrainian there are 6 of forms for each verb in present tense. They depend on the personal pronoun. As you can see here, я читаю, ти читаєш, він читає, ми читаємо, ви читаєте, вони читають. By the way, this conjugation він, I write just he form, but also she, it form will go to the same conjugation. Він читає, вона читає, воно читає. They will have the same form. I just make it short to keep some space in my slides. So, these are conjugations, different endings of the verb in the present tense. Why it's important to learn for you now already? Because even to have a simple conversation, to speak about different persons, he, she, it, they, us, we need to use different forms of the verb, different endings, and we need to know which one to use. That is why this topic is important in the beginning of learning the Ukrainian language. And the very important thing that I wanted to tell you is that you need to use this video as your grammar digest. So here I will give you the grammar base that you need to know before practicing this topic. But in order to master this topic, you really need to practice it a lot. You need to practice each separate verb in the context, in different phrases and collocations, in your conversation. Only then you will switch the knowledge that you will receive today on this lesson to a skill which you really want to do. So get ready, get comfortable. It will be not a very short lesson. By the way, you can watch it in a few pieces. You can divide it. And get a notebook to make notes. So let's go. As you can see, we have 2 conjugations in Ukrainian language. First and second, right? Читати is first conjugation, бачити is second. As you can see, they have different sets of endings, right? They are kind of similar, but a little bit different. As you can see here, 1 letter difference between them. But I also recommend you to call them not just as first and second conjugation, because these words first and second do not give you any additional information. You can call them as Е-conjugation and Ї-conjugation. This will help you to remember quickly which letter you need to use in the ending. If it's Е-conjugation, you can see there is letter Е. If it's I, letter I. Only я and вони forms will have different endings, not connected with these Е, I letters. But first things first, let's take a look at the possible endings into conjugations. You can see, for the first conjugation, we have 2 sets of endings. If your stem will end with vowel, you need to use first set. If with consonant, second set. Here also consonant and vowel. What it means? For example, you have the verb читати, infinitive which is given in the dictionary. It has this suffix ти. We will call it an ending for convenience. So we need to drop this ending ти. Then we have the stem of the verb чита, ends with a. A is a vowel. And that is why after it we use this first set of endings. Я читаю, ти читаєш, він, вона читає, ми читаємо, ви читаєте, вони читають. Second conjugation. Бачити. Here we need to drop ending ити. We will speak about it more details later. So we have the stem ended with a consonant ch, and after consonant we need to use this first set. Я бачу, ти бачиш, він бачить, ми бачимо, ви бачите, вони бачать. Okay? So I will keep this table always in front of you, so you could check which endings we use in each conjugation while we will practice. But before we begin practicing, I want to remind you about some important things that may help you. First conjugation is more popular in Ukrainian than second one, much more popular, and especially its є form. So like with the verb читаєш, читаємо, читаєте, this є ending will be more popular in Ukrainian than others. Sometimes we need to change not only the verb ending for conjugation, but also there could happen some sound alternations, and we will speak about each of them. Sometimes it's exception, sometimes it is a rule. So pay attention to it too. Another difficult thing is that in Ukrainian sometimes it's a little bit difficult to define conjugation from the infinitive form. So when you see infinitive and its ending, it doesn't always mean that you for sure can know what conjugation it is. That is why I told you that it's important to practice each verb separately. But today we will learn some common rules about it. And of course, as in any language, there are irregular verbs, which conjugations we have to remember, like the verbs to be, to eat. We'll talk about them later. So, let's begin. Here we have first conjugation. Of course, we begin with the first conjugation. Here you can see the possible conjugation endings, just to keep them in mind. So, first group of the verbs in first conjugation will be the verbs with ending ate. Of course, I'm speaking now about infinitive forms, those that are given in dictionary. You learn the new verb and it has ending ate, except those verbs that before ate have letter v, vati. If they have ending vati, it's a separate group. Now we are talking about those that have ending ate. Here you have a huge list of them, almost all of them that we need to know for A1 level. By the way, in this lesson I mostly use only the verbs that we need to learn on A1 level. So it will be good to write them down. So, слухати, грати, знати, мати, вивчати, кохати, снідати. You can see that they all have ending ati. So what do we need to do? We need to drop, as you can see, or to replace, right? Ending ti, and instead of it, use this first category. Why first? Because when we drop ti from ending ati, a will stay there, right? It will not go anywhere. And that is why it's a vowel, so we use the first set of endings for this conjugation. So, я слухаю, ти слухаєш, він, вона слухає, ми слухаємо, ви слухаєте, вони слухають. Here they are. So, the rule is clear. We drop ending ti and add these endings to our conjugation, to our personal pronouns. I want you now to practice it, because just hearing it won't give you anything. I want you to stop the video and write down in your notebook all the verbs in all conjugations. Я, ти, він, ми, вони, ви. Right? So please stop the video and write them down using this new rule. We'll check it now. Hope you're ready. So let's see. The ending will be the same as an example. Граю, граєш, грає, граємо, граєте, грають. And other verbs you can check by yourself. I won't now spend our time and read all of them. You can again stop the video and check yourself. But doing this exercise is very important for you. So this is the rule, yes, for ending ati. But, of course, there are exceptions. You can see the verbs лежати і спати. Лежати, to lie, спати, to sleep. These will be the verbs of second conjugation despite their ending ati. We just have to remember it, it's exception. Also we have the verbs брати, їхати, писати, казати. They are first conjugation, like they should be according to the rule, but there will some other things happening to them. At first, we will use them with second set of conjugations, so with e, and secondly, they will have some sound alternation in the stem. Let's take a look what I mean. First of all, for this set of expressions for verbs on A1 level, we need to drop not just ending ti, but all the part ati. And they all will have a consonant before ati. That is why we actually use a form. But also you can see, let's take the verb брати. Here will be left only br, br. Difficult to say, right? That is why we add additional vowel in order to sound more melodical. And so we will say я беру, ти береш, він бере, ми беремо, ви берете, вони беруть. Right? So we add this additional e into the stem and use this second set of endings. Then, їхати, писати, казати. As you can see here, we will have sound alternation, which we just must remember. These are exceptions, we need to remember them. So, for їхати, letter H we replace with letter D. Я їду, ти їдеш, він їде, ми їдемо, ви їдете, вони їдуть. For писати, we replace letter S with sh. Я пишу, ти пишеш, він пише, ми пишемо, ви пишете, вони пишуть. If you don't do it, if you just change this verb in its usual way, so if you drop just ti and add these endings, this verb also will exist in Ukrainian, but it will just mean absolutely different thing. Instead of to write, it will mean to be. So depending on what you need to say. If it's to write, we replace S with sh. Then казати, here we replace z with ж. Я кажу, ти кажеш, вона каже, ми кажемо, ви кажете, вони кажуть. We just must remember these verbs. That is why I want you to practice them separately after the lesson, because they are exceptions. Okay, so this was ending ati, first group. Second group, for the first conjugation, ending yati. Yati. There are not so many of them, especially on A1 level, but still we need to know how to do with them, what to do with them. So, the same as for ending ati, if it's a rule, we need to drop ending ti and to use first set of endings, because there will be letter ya left in the stem, which is a vowel. Я гуляю, ти гуляєш, він гуляє, ми гуляємо, ви гуляєте, вони гуляють. You can see these endings here as example. And again, I want you to stop the video and to write down other verbs. Зачиняти, відчиняти, вечеряти. Even if you don't know these verbs yet, you can practice already how to conjugate them. So, I give you a second. And let's check. Ready? I'm showing you the results. For example, вечеряти. Я вечеряю, ти вечеряєш, вона вечеряє, ми вечеряємо, ви вечеряєте, вони вечеряють. Okay, so here everything is transparent, clear. But we also have exceptions. The verb стояти, we need to remember that it's exception. Despite of the ending яти, it will be second conjugation. And the verb мріяти, it's the first conjugation like it should be, but here we need to drop not just ending ти, but ending яти. No, this is exception. And then we will receive these forms. Я мрію, ти мрієш, він мріє, ми мріємо, ви мрієте, вони мріють. Okay? I hope here everything is clear. If you have any questions, write a comment. I will gladly help you. Let's go on. The third group in the first conjugation. The verbs with ending вати. You remember when we spoke about ати, I told you that this group except ending вати. So if you have this additional v before ending ати, then we will need to act like this. And you can see there are a lot of verbs because this group is very popular in Ukrainian. Really, we have a lot of verbs with ending вати. How to act with them, to conjugate them. We need to drop the ending вати, all it, not just ти, but вати, and then to use our usual rule. So, for example, готувати. I drop ending вати, I have the stem готу, which ends with у, which is a vowel, so I use this set of endings, the first one. Я готую, ти готуєш, він готує, ми готуємо, ви готуєте, вони готують. Okay, so I want you to do the same now. To drop вати from other verbs. Купувати, будувати, показувати, давати, працювати, малювати, танцювати. And to write down their conjugations. Ready? I hope so. Let's check. Ta-dam! Here are our endings. Again, I won't read them now. I feel that I'm already starting losing my voice, but you can stop the video and check yourself. This practice is the best that you can do right now to upgrade your grammar on this topic. So here everything is according to the rule. Let's go on. Verbs with ending вати again, but exceptions among them. We don't drop this va particle in some verbs where this particle va is a part of the stem. So if in other verbs it's just a suffix, sometimes it could be a part not even of the stem, of the root. If this va is a part of the root, then we don't drop it because we cannot divide the root of the verb. And you can just memorize those verbs. There are not so many of them. Which you need to know on A-vowel level is співати, забувати, відчувати та вбивати. They are still first conjugation, but we just drop only the ending ти. Да? Співати, I drop ти, and add our usual endings. Співаю, співаєш, співає, співаємо, співаєте, співають. Забувати, to forget, the same situation. Відчувати, to feel, the same. Вбивати, to kill, maybe not a one-level verb, but still quite frequent. That is why I added it here. So the same rule, right? So you just need to remember that for these verbs, these 4 verbs, it will be enough for you for now, that for them we don't drop вати, we drop just ending ти and use our usual rule. And the fourth group of the first conjugations are verbs with ending uti. And here you can see I'm writing mostly perfective verbs. What it means. Later you will find out that in Ukrainian we have aspects of verbs. Some verbs are imperfective that describe process or regular actions, and some will be perfective that will describe the result of action. So perfective verbs, those that describe result. We don't speak about them right now. We don't learn them in the beginning. We will learn them later. But this rule will be used with them a lot. Of course, there are some imperfective verbs with this ending, but not a lot of them. And they are not even A1 level. But I still put them here in order to show you how it works with ending uti. So basically, you will not meet this ending often among imperfective verbs. So I chose the verbs пахнути, to smell, and тонути, to drown. So we drop ending uti and use our usual rules. First conjugation, right? Я пахну, ти пахнеш, він пахне, ми пахнемо, ви пахнете, вони пахнуть. Отак. So this is it. This is a very teeny tiny group, I would say, among imperfective verbs. And we have the fifth group, verbs to remember. I told you that there are some irregular verbs that we just must remember. And they all will have either sound alternation or some additional letters in their root. So these are the verbs жити. And you can see that here, when we change it, we drop ending ti, as usually, but we add additional letter v. And we receive the root živ, živ. It's irregular verb. Actually, I would say that most verbs that are the most frequently used in our language, they will be irregular. They will have at least some elements of irregularity. It happens in almost all languages. Even in English, those verbs that we use the most often, they will be irregular. They will have not ending ed, but those three forms, right? And the same in Ukrainian. Very often the frequent verbs, they will have some irregularity. We just need to remember it. So, жити, живу, ти живеш, він живе, ми живемо, ви живете, вони живуть. Here we have this additional v. Хотіти, to want. Everything is logical, everything is like it should be, but letter T we replace with letter Ch, Ч. So, я хочу, ти хочеш, він хоче, ми хочемо, ви хочете, вони хочуть. So, in infinitive we have T, and in all conjugations we have Ch. And you can see that it has ending it, but this is the first conjugation, we need to remember it. The next verb, іти or йти. These are like two options of the same verb. And they both will be changed according to the same pattern. We need to replace T with D. Я іду, ти ідеш, він іде, ми йдемо, ви йдете, вони ідуть. The next verb, to put, класти. С we replace with D. Я кладу, ти кладеш, and so on. Могти. By the way, this verb in infinitive is almost never used, so we use only its conjugations. But still, letter G we replace with Ж. Я можу, ти можеш, він може, and so on. And we have two verbs that are exceptions among exceptions because they will be conjugate with an apostrophe. So, пити і бити. Пити, бити. When we conjugate them, we basically keep only the first letter plus apostrophe, plus we use the first category of endings. We just have to memorize it. Я п'ю, ти п'єш, він п'є, ми п'ємо, ви п'єте, вони п'ють. The same about бити. Я б'ю, ти б'єш, він б'є, and so on. So these verbs must be practiced a lot. in order to remember them, okay? I hope this is clear. I hope you have written it down. We have finished with the first conjugation now. So verbs with ending ати, яти, вати, ути, and the verbs to remember plus exceptions. Okay, second conjugation. Here it's endings. Here what we need to remember is that I told you that second conjugation is much more rare in Ukrainian than the first one. And basically most of the verbs that I will give you during these explanations is that list of verbs that you need to remember on A1 level. So maybe it will seem a little bit overwhelming, but it's not, because basically those examples that I give you will be enough for you on this level. But let's go step by step. So, second conjugation, first group of verbs. The verbs with ending ити, іти. What we need to do with them? We need to drop this ending. Like бачити. Я бачу, ти бачиш, він бачить, ми бачимо, ви бачите, вони бачать. You may ask me why in ya form we use ending u if it should be you. The thing is that in Ukrainian letter ch is always hard, so it never will be you after it. That is why we use бачу. But other forms follow the same pattern. After consonant, we use this set of endings. This is regular verb. Everything is correct about it. But other verbs already have some strange forms. These sound alternations that happen here in ya form and sometimes in they form, we have rules for them, and we will now check these rules. But what I wanted to say that very often, actually, these sound alternations happens in second conjugation. It happens mostly only in ya form, sometimes in they form. And very often these are very frequently used verbs. So we see the verb ходити, which in ya form becomes ходжу. Why? Let's take a look to the rule. If you drop your ending ити, іти, and your stem is ended with one of these letters, you need to replace them for ya form, only for ya form. So, ходити, letter D, we change with letter J, affricate, J. Я ходжу. Other forms will follow the rules. Ти ходиш, він ходить, ми ходимо, ви ходите, вони ходять. Here we have this ending ять, because we need to use soft ending in вони form when we have the sound alternation. You may just remember the forms without memorizing this rule, and this is what I actually recommend you. But if you're a bookworm that likes to know everything about the grammar, here is the rule. The next one, їздити. Here we have zd. I didn't mark letter z, but it's ending zd. So zd we replace with ждж. Sorry, too early. So ждж. Я їжджу. I know it sounds a little bit strange for you, but this is how it works. Я їжджу. But other forms are regular. Ти їздиш, він їздить, ми їздимо, ви їздите, вони їздять. Soft, they form. Просити, с we replace with ш. Я прошу, ти просиш, він просить, ми просимо, вони просять. Сидіти, д will be replaced with дж. Я сиджу, я сиджу. Ти сидиш, він сидить, ми сидимо, and so on. So these were the verbs that follow this rule. As you can see, there are not so many of them. You can remember just these forms without memorizing the rule. Next two verbs will follow the next rule. If your stem will be ended with one of these letters, here we have in both examples letter B, then in ya form and in вони form, we add additional sound L or letter L. Я роблю, я люблю. Вони роблять, вони люблять. Basically, you already know the verb я люблю. Я роблю follows the same pattern. Other forms do not have additional L. Ти робиш, ти любиш. Він робить, любить. Ми робимо, любимо. Ви робите, любите. Вони роблять, люблять. Again with L. So these are verbs that you need to memorize. Again, not many verbs follow these rules. There are not so many of them exist in Ukrainian. You can just memorize these two and it will be enough. You don't have to memorize the whole rule. The next situation, when you have letter R in the stem, when you drop ending, like in the verbs говорити, курити, we have R. Here we do not have any sound alternation, but in я form and in вони form, we will have soft endings. This is what we need to remember. Other ending will be hard, but these two will be soft. Говорю, говорять, курю, курять, but говориш, куриш, говорить, курить, говоримо, куримо, говорите, курите. So I hope this is clear. Yeah, so seems like simple. You just need to drop ending, but if you have one of these situations, then you need to act according to it. Or you can just remember these forms, practicing these verbs. Let's go on. Second group of the second conjugation. There is a typo again. I'm sorry, guys. Verbs with ending їти. So we had ити, іти, now їти. It's a very tiny number of verbs in Ukrainian. Actually, none of them that I give you here are A1 level verbs. I just give you to show the concept, but like it's really a tiny group, you cannot even memorize it. What you need to do here, you need to drop ending їти and act according to the rules. Клеїти, we have a vowel. So if it's a vowel, we use this group of endings. Я клею, ти клеїш, він клеїть, ми клеїмо, ви клеїте, вони клеять. The same with verbs поїти, to give a drink, like to give a drink to a dog or to a child, and труїти, to poison. Okay, not A1 level at all, but still you need to know that they exist. The third group of the second conjugation, this one you already need to know. These are verbs with ати, яти. You know that these verbs will be typically first conjugation, but you remember we said that there are exceptions, and here they are. Стояти, лежати, спати. These verbs are exceptions, and they will be second conjugation. So, here we again, with these two verbs, we act according to the rules. We drop ending ати or яти, and we follow these endings. Стою, стоїш, лежу, лежиш. Here we have о, so that is why we use this one group. Here we have же, so we use this one group. With спати, we have the same situation as we had on previous page. With the verbs роблю, люблю, where appears additional L. Я сплю, вони сплять. Other forms are typical. Ти спиш, він спить, ми спимо, ви спите. Better also to remember just conjugations of this verb. I know it's a lot to memorize, but this is not the topic of one lesson. You need to practice one verb like every day new set of verbs. Then it will give you a good result. You don't have to upload it in your memory because your head is not a computer, right? Basically, this is all about second conjugation. As I said, it's not big, even despite the fact that it seems overwhelming. And also we have irregular verbs, absolutely regular to remember. They do not have even conjugation, we can say. And there are not a lot of them, just two. To eat, to be. Їсти, бути. About бути, this is a very good story because you just use the form є in all conjugations, in all forms. Я є, ти є, він є, and so on. And very often, actually, we skip it. In present tense, we very often do not use the verb to be. We just omit it when we say something. For example, I am a teacher. Я є вчитель. It's grammatically correct, but we don't say like this. We just say я вчитель. So we omit this є. And the verb їсти need to be memorized. Я їм, ти їси, він їсть, ми їмо, ви їсте, вони їдять. So you just must remember these verbs because the verb is quite frequent and we need to know how to change it. And basically that is all. I know, a little bit too long lesson, but I hope that you have received a lot of useful information there, and I hope that I will film more videos about separate verbs in phrases, in collocations, where you can actually practice these verbs step by step without rushing. If you like this video, please give it a thumb up, write a comment, because it was a very big topic for me to prepare, to film this. I almost lose my voice, and I will be really glad to receive your feedback, and if you share this video with other people who learn Ukrainian. I hope it will be a very helpful video for you guys. So thank you a lot, and especially I want to thank all my patrons. All these people are my wizards, because only thanks to you I can keep going filming these videos for YouTube. I'm sorry if sometimes I'm not as frequent as I want to be, but you know, the conditions in Ukraine, and sometimes it's just mentally overwhelming, and that is why sometimes I take some pauses, but still your support is incredibly important for me, and only because of you I keep creating this channel. So thank you, my dear patrons, and if somebody wants to support me on Patreon as well, you can do it, because all the slides from the lesson are always available to my patrons. You can download them. I publish them in the feed on Patreon always. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Please practice. And I hope I will see you very soon on our next lesson. Всім гарного дня, до зустрічі, бувайте!